Are you wanting to save a boatload on the cost of college? Well, if so, you're in the right place. I'm Josh Bennett with College Funding Hero. In this video, we're going to be talking about exactly how colleges determine how much financial aid they are willing to give you. And, let's be honest, the institutions themselves, the colleges, that's where you get the big bulk of money in terms of financial aid. So you're going to want to pay attention to this video because we're going to tell you exactly how colleges calculate all this stuff so you can kind of play within the rules of the game to really lower that sticker price of college. So we're going to take a look at that right now. Again, welcome to College Funding Hero, the channel where we help you save money on the cost of college. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. We provide a lot of valuable information when it comes to getting that sticker price of college dropped. So in this video today, we're going to be talking about the financial aid process and really understanding where the bulk of financial aid comes from and where you can really get significant amounts of cash to really help you pay for the cost of college. So when you think about getting financial aid, the big bulk of money comes from the institutions themselves. So basically, the financial aid packages that the college is going to give you, that's where you're often going to get a lot of the money in terms of financial aid or scholarships. So, for example, you hear a lot in the news and through different blogs and stuff about all sorts of private and third-party scholarships. Those are fantastic, and I highly recommend going after those. But where you often get the big dollar figures is from the institutions themselves. And there's really two different classifications of financial aid. So one is need-based aid, which need-based aid is based solely on the assets and income of the family members. So what is the financial condition of the family? And so there's an equation that we're going to go through here in just a minute to determine what is the need of that family. And from there, once the college assesses what the need is, they'll then determine what they're willing to give to try and meet that need. The other type of aid is merit-based aid. So this is a type of aid that really has nothing to do with the financial condition of the family. It is based purely on the skills and qualifications of the student. So these are things like athletic scholarships or scholarships for languages or GPA, anything like that. So merit-based is purely based on the qualifications of the student. And to be able to qualify for financial aid in the first place, you have to apply for it. So maybe common sense, but you have to actually apply for it to be able to receive financial aid. So how you do that when it comes to the aid from the institutions, there's two different types of applications, and each of these are going to apply typically for different schools. So there's the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. So FAFSA is basically, kind of the standard of, what you need to fill out in order to get financial aid. So the FAFSA is going to be what most public schools are going to use to determine what your family need is going to be. So, let me backtrack. So these applications are typically associated with financial needs. So these forms basically help colleges determine, does your family need financial aid to afford college? So this is going back to that need-based financial aid. These are the applications that help you determine that. That being said, a lot of scholarships on the merit-based side also require you to have these forms filled out before they'll, give you any aid for merit-based, even though it's skills-based and has nothing to do with financial aid. It can be used as an indication of interest and that you want the financial aid. Frankly, if you don't ask, you don't get it. So definitely fill out these forms regardless. So the FAFSA, again, is used for most public universities. CSS profile, which stands for College Scholarship Service Profile Form, aka CSS profile. This is used by about 400 different private schools. So most colleges are going to require the FAFSA, but there is a large chunk, especially on the private side, that do require the CSS profile. So you may be filling out one and or both of these forms in order to get financial aid, depending on what schools you're looking at for college. So how that financial aid is determined is basically a simple equation that is, what is your cost of attendance? So this is the gross dollar figure of school. So let's just use round numbers that the cost of attendance is $200,000 a year. So that is how much it costs or not, sorry, not $200,000 a year. Let's say the cost is $200,000 in total, or $50,000 a year. If it's $200,000 a year, wow, college has really shot up in price. But let's assume it's $200,000 total, $50,000 a year. So that is your family's cost of attendance. So your expected family contribution is basically based on those FAFSA and CSS profile forms. This is what they determine how much you can actually pay. So again, let's kind of use that $50,000 a year. Let's say that EFC, expected family contribution, from the FAFSA says that you can afford $25,000 a year or $100,000. So your cost of attendance is basically then per year that $50,000 minus the $25,000 that they think you can afford. Whether that's true or not, that's up for debate. But this is how the colleges are going to calculate it. Whether it's specifically accurate or not, that's just kind of the way it is. So your expected family contribution, let's say it's $50,000 minus $25,000. That's going to be your financial need. So this is a very basic version of the equation, but this is essentially what they're looking at. So then the college will determine, all right, you have a $25,000 financial need. We may give you scholarships to meet that need. So you may still be out of pocket that $25,000 and maybe some extra depending on the school, but that financial need is where colleges will help try to meet you in the middle. Some schools will meet 100% of need, meaning that if you need $25,000 and you get accepted, they'll meet 100% of that need that you have. So they'll pay that $25,000. Then all you have to do is figure out the other $25,000 to meet the full cost. Not every school will do 100% financial need. That's typically reserved for the Harvards, Yales, and some of the more elite private schools of the world that do meet 100% financial need. Others may meet, like, say, 50%. So, for example, going back to that $50,000 per year, they say you can afford $25,000. You have $25,000 that you still need to come up with from somewhere. They may say, okay, we'll give you 50% of that need, so aka $12,500, and now you just have to come up with $37,500. So that's kind of where a big bulk of the money comes from in terms of need-based aid, is really from this calculation, which is determined by those financial aid documents. And they're going to go off those financial aid documents from your prior year tax form. So if you're going into school in 2021, they're going to be looking at 2019 taxes. So when it comes to merit-based aid is usually based on criteria of the student. It can be academic, can be athletic. So athletic, obviously, that's going to be based on your athletic ability. So let's say you're a basketball player, that's usually going to be driven by whether the coach thinks you're a great player, going to fit on the team, and they're going to give you an athletic scholarship. Academic scholarships often work on a base level, what I like to call a grid system in terms of qualifications. So this obviously may change now as of the recording of this video. We're in the midst of the COVID pandemic, which may, right now a lot of schools aren't taking SAT and ACT, but typically how they look at it is they may say, all right, to get this scholarship, so we have the scholarship, I'm looking at Butler here as an example, the freshman academic scholarship program, which can range from $10,000 to $21,000, which their criteria for that is an SAT of 1450, ACT of 32, and a GPA of 3.8. So this is one of those things that by just meeting these requirements, you may automatically qualify to receive this money. Some may require an interview as well. Like, so for example, you see here, like this has strong requirements too, but also has an interview required. And they may be based on some other ancillary features, such as this looks like it's the Center for Faith and Vocation. So it may have something to do with community service, but oftentimes a academic baseline is what's required to qualify to even receive that merit-based aid. So on the merit-based aid side, one of the best things you can do for yourself is do things like invest in SAT, ACT prep courses, or invest in just getting a higher GPA. So if a tutor is necessary or things like that. So for example, paying $5,000 for a tutor over a year that could get you $21,000 a year, that's money well spent. So things to consider with merit-based aid is really investing in getting those baseline requirements up as high as possible and understanding what the merit-based requirements for those schools are each year. Yeah, hopefully you thought this was valuable. So those are the two main sources of getting financial aid from the institutions. Both can, as you can see, I mean, these are $21,000 a year. That can pack a huge punch in terms of paying for the overall tuition of a college. So you can find need-based aid and merit-based aid, or one or the other. That's a lot of dollars that can go to dropping the cost of college. So make sure you invest heavily in terms of understanding what these two types of aid are and how to most use them for your family. All right. Again, if you found this video valuable, make sure you like and subscribe. We try to provide as much valuable information along the way as possible. But until next time, cheers, and everybody stay safe and healthy.